Come see us on tour in Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there.
I wanted to ask you about this because I've heard you mention Alice Weidel and the AFD party. So Elon Musk just did a Spaces interview with her, in which she made what a lot of people feel is a pretty remarkable claim about Der Fuhrer.
Then, during the Third Reich, the National Socialists, as the word says, they were socialists.
Yeah,
Adolf
very much
Hitler
so.
Yeah.
They nationalized industries like crazy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was a communist, and he considered himself as a socialist. He wasn't a conservative. He wasn't a libertarian. He was a communist, socialist guy.
Yeah.
So, full stop, no more comment on that. And see, look at this during during the discussion of this terrible Hamas attack on Israel. So only the leftish Palestinians, they criticize the policies here. So you have a deeply vested anti-Semitism within the leftish movement. And
all right, so this is a little bit of what Hitler actually said about communism. The Jewish doctrine of Marxism rejects the aristocratic principle of nature and replaces the eternal privilege of power and strength by the mass of numbers and their dead weight. In 1932, that's 1925, in Mein Kampf in 1932, he said, the streets of our country are in turmoil. The universities are filled with students rebelling and rioting. Communists are seeking to destroy our country. So what do you think of what she said? And she's kind of tying the pro-Palestine protesters into Nazism and communism by tying Nazism to communism.
Well, I don't know about the Palestinian bit. I don't like terms that are remote from today, have no real meaning in an Islamic context. So I don't sign on for that sort of thing. I think that's a more complex issue. But let's understand something about Hitler that she was right about. In 1943, Hitler announced that Germany was the first workers' and peasants' state. That is identical to what the communists said. Now, what did he mean? Was it different? Yes. German fascism, like Italian fascism or Spanish fascism, respected private property. You did actually have rights in a court of law. Adolf Hitler and his inner circle in the late 1930s during the war were sued regularly in courts of law in Germany. All of that's impossible in a communist setting. So to that extent, she's identifying the socialist dimension, which is real. And that was something that Hitler did say he was. There's no question about it. Now, you can fight with academics over whether or not they consider him to have been that way. But what he objected to was communism. And sadly, tragically in history, the Jews were seen as inextricably intertwined with communism. And everybody knew in Europe what was happening in the Soviet Union during the 30s, not in Western Europe, but in Central East Europe. And that helped to fuel the fires of anti-Semitism. I don't know that she's aware of that. I have no idea, but that's unfortunately true. And remember that it didn't matter that you had somebody like Fritz Haber, who was a brilliant man. He was a chemist, a Nobel Prize winner. He was an officer in the Imperial German Army. He was also the man that developed the foundations for the Green Revolution. He was Jewish. He was decorated by the Kaiser. He also invented poison gas. So what do we remember Fritz Haber for? Do we remember that he was Jewish? Do we remember that he was German? Do we remember his Nobel Prize for his great achievements? Or do we point to the poison gas? Whenever you go back through history, you're going to find these things, and you're going to find what are ostensibly contradictions. You have to be sufficiently objective and distant from the emotions of the time to sort through it. And that's not easy. Alice Weidel is dealing with a German population that is sick of self-hatred. That's important to understand. They finished with that. They're tired of being on the permanent apology tour because none of them were alive when the terrible things of the Second World War were done.
Of course, the fealty to Israel suggests that they are still kind of on the self-hatred trip, right? I mean, that's kind of what informs that, is it not?
I think that's been true. I don't know that will last now. That was very definitely true. I mean, at least 2 of the or 3 of the submarines, the diesel submarines, which are brilliant, by the way, that the Israelis have that carry nuclear-armed cruise missiles, were built for nothing in Germany by the German government and gifted to Israel. And the Germans have always stood steadfastly by them. But I don't know how that's going to work given what's happened in Gaza and the rest of the country. That may change because the Germans are beginning to re-examine themselves.
It's pretty remarkable how, because listening to her, she sounds, it's not surprising to me that she's sitting down with Elon. The take on Israel is the same. I mean, she doesn't really sound, she doesn't sound very different from our foreign policy regarding
I don't think she's going to. What happens in the future is another matter. But I think for the moment, that's the third rail in German politics that will remain untouched. My point is, having lived over there for many years and speaking German and knowing many German citizens, the sea change is underway, if you understand what I mean. Look, I'm somebody who's always been very supportive of Israel. I was shocked when I saw what was undertaken in Gaza. Mm. And I told some of my Israeli friends, I said, look, if the people that were living in Gaza were Jews, I would be just as upset. I would be just as upset regardless of whoever was living there. Campaigns of mass murder and expulsion are repugnant to me, especially in our day and age. Surely there are other ways to solve this without doing it. And they said, you're either with us or you're against us. That's their mentality.
All right. Colonel Douglas Macgregor, where can people find you?
Oh, Lord.
Don't dox yourself, but yeah.
Certainly on YouTube. I'm the guy sitting next to the Dalai Lama. No.
Yeah.
But,
did you see the interview he just did with this woman? He looked like he was 8 feet tall. How tall is the Dalai Lama? Do you know that?
Oh, no, he's not that tall.
He's
of average height.
That's what I figured. I always thought he was average height. I saw him sitting next to this woman. He looked like a giant. I don't know if it was the camera was weird or if the woman was real small, but yeah, it looked strange.
Are you
a Buddhist, Doug?
No.
Okay.
No. I was raised as a Quaker, and
wow.
I don't really claim to belong to any religious order or organization, but I tend to be a rather free thinker, and when I read things or hear things from people that I think are right, mm-hmm. I think they're right regardless of the source.
All righty. So one more time, where can they find you?
Oh, just Google my name, Macgregor, Colonel Douglas Macgregor. You can also go to ourcountryourchoice.com. There's a website. There are lots of videos posted there. I'm fairly easily found, unfortunately for some people. But at any rate, thanks for having me on. And tell Jimmy I am really desperately disturbed that he was not here.
Well, he picked the right time to get out of town.
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Great to meet you. Great to see you.
Right.
Thank you.
Come see us on tour in Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there.